Am I now? Welcome to the University of Wisconsin River Falls Esports broadcast. I am so excited to be back here on this wonderful campus. I am very excited this year as well to be casting some brand new rookies, as I was just informed about, as well as some warmly familiar talent that we all are acquainted with already. And we are about to kick off our very first week of League of Legends. Now, today's matchup is going to be against the University of Texas Dallas. A very strong team, as from what I can tell. I understand that Texas is very good at outputting very, very strong teams, as well as some more minute, weaker teams, as our very first stream on the University of Wisconsin Esports channel will prove. Omega Strikers, we actually defeated Texas A&M by a landslide. So we will see if UTD can hold up their end of the bargain for their college and put up a good fight, or if they will fall by the wayside, similar to Texas A&M. Now, we already have a draft set up right now. This was done in a third-party setting, so the exact order of drafts and some of the bands are going to be a little bit hidden for you, but we can go right down the list right now. University of Wisconsin River Falls is going to be on the red side. That's why the nameplates are a little blocked up, but we will see it once we hop onto the Rift. Now, the first thing that I want to point out right now is a Seraphine top lane, I assume. This is a very interesting draft, actually, from the University of Texas, Dallas. Lots of mages here. We got three. One of them is specifically an artillery mage. Syndra is more utility. Yone being more of a stat checker champion in the mid lane. Very, very common. You tend to see it. Although, again, these kind of listings right now are not necessarily where the role is going to reside. We do not have an Aatrox Sivir bot lane, so keep that in mind. Pantheon is almost always going to be going jungle in this instance, so I think that's going to be a very, very difficult and strong matchup against Qiyana. Now, I'm going to get into the semantics of our specific player role changes later, as there are a few storylines I want to go over. But firstly, let's just talk about Qiyana versus the Pantheon matchup. Now, we've seen this a lot in LPL recently. Qiyana recently got a buff, especially in that jungle role, and the issue with this champion isn't necessarily that it has too much utility, or rather too many options to pick from, because it's an elemental champion. You can switch between different kinds of Qs. It's more so knowing when to use that utility. It's a very situational champion, so I'm not going to spoil it, but whoever our jungler happens to be, I have full trust that they will understand how the Rock Q works, I believe it is, and know that they can pair it with the Smite to win any Smite fight their heart desires. Now, we're going to be jumping right into the game as our spectator delay is now up. Ooh, boy, I got butterflies in my stomach and a fire under my ass. I am ready to go here, as I know everybody in the audience is as well. Now, we are looking at a little bit of a black screen, so I'm going to go over some of the bullet points that I wanted to touch on more before we discuss the draft. Firstly, tuned in last night or earlier today, you would have caught University of Wisconsin River Falls' decisive victory against the University of Wisconsin-Madison, one of our rivals, a much bigger school down south, the capital of our state, and we stomped them in Rocket League. Props to our Rocket League team. However, again, like I said earlier today, our Rocket League team also had a very close 3-4 defeat against TameU. Now, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but it doesn't really matter because our Rocket League team put up a good fight, and I know that they are going to come back just as hard next week. Keep tuning in for more esports content from various genres. It's not just League of Legends and Rocket League. We actually have a few Rainbow Six games lined up as well, so stay tuned for that. Now, the storyline that I really wanted to touch on right now, and I promised I wouldn't glaze him too much. I promised I wouldn't glaze him too hard. If he ends up dropping the ball this series, I really won't have to. But the man, the myth, the legend, as I am seeing right now on my screen, is Eerie Ethan. You know him, you love him, a monster on the Rift last year. His support picks and individual power plays, he really lived up to his name as Eerie, casting an unsettling essence over the entire Rift. And we, again, like I said, know him for his enchanters, Lulu, Sona, Karma, things like that. But are we going to see a change on the field today? As I know you can see looking at your screen, where is that Sivir? There it is. University of Wisconsin River Falls Eerie is playing ADC today. In terms of roles, there's going to be a big change-up right now. We'll get back to Eerie, because how can I bring up Ethan without discussing Enchanting? Enchanting also a little bit of a change. Unfortunately, we're going through a little bit of a technical issue right now, but that's okay. We'll be resolving that very shortly. Enchanting is going to be playing in the jungle role. University of Texas Dallas, actually I'm getting news right now, has crashed, so we will be getting into a new lobby and rehosting shortly. But that doesn't mean that I can't keep talking and filling up your eardrums, which I am happy to do. Now, as I was saying earlier, Aaron, we all know him, we all love him. Familiar face, by far not the, or rather by far the most well acquainted on the University of Wisconsin River Falls roster in terms of this current iteration, the most experienced. Still playing in that mid lane, still playing Victor. We are going to keep the drafts. It was a simple disconnect. The champions that you saw on the screen are going to be what we are playing with for game number 1. But back to Enchanting in that jungle role. Now, I discussed Kiana and how difficult this champion can be, especially in that jungle role. It's very intuitive. It's very opportunistic. Now, Enchanting, as we all know from last year, very, very powerful player, was on that ADC role known for the hyper carries such as Caitlyn, Jinx, things such as that. So I'm very, very excited to see how the jungle role can now impact the game. Fridgley, one of the greatest junglers that River Falls have ever had. We love him. We always got to pay respects to the Fridge man, because his Skarners, his Zax, his tank jungle plays was the solid ooey stickiness that kept the team together. But now it's going to be very interesting to see a different dynamic change within the team, as now we have a carry jungler and somebody who mains carries within that jungle role. And that's something that I actually wanted to point out with University of Wisconsin's draft is I'm not seeing a lot of tanks here. Victor, yes, you can play tank. You can build some of those items that give you a little bit more health. Aatrox, yes, with the lifesteal, but you're not typically building Titanic Hydra. You're more so going for the Ravenous and relying off of that lifesteal, Sundering Sky procs, things such as that. Kiana, again, squishy, more damage-based and opportunistic from jungle ganks. And Eerie, might I say more, Sivir, hyper carry, very hyperest of the hyper carry. Not tanky at all, although does have a spell shield. And Mr. Wadsworth, one of the rookies this year, coming in on the Karma, trying to show up Eerie, proving everybody on the Rift that, yes, I can play Karma too, and just as well, if not better, supporting his man Eerie in the bot lane. So it's going to be very interesting to see from River Falls draft with no tanks how they're going to approach the late game especially. considering that the University of Texas Dallas does have a lot of front-to-back potential. They do have the Yone in the top lane, so that's going to be very easy to get a hyper Yone ult, hit pretty much any champion right now, and be able to one-shot them as long as they have 3 items, maybe a Bork. They probably won't be able to one-shot him after that, but a Bork, maybe an IE, something like that, Infinity Edge. However, the biggest thing that I'm going to be worried about for River Falls is going to be all of these mages, especially the artillery mage of Hui. Now, Hui, if you don't know, is a very, very intuitive champion. Lots of different combinations that you can make with the abilities, but most of them are very far ranged. Similar to a Kog'Maw, but more of a mid-lane mage role. So River Falls is going to have to play the distancing game and the kiting game very, very well here. We do have a pause right now as we do have some more summoners disconnected, but don't worry, we will be back momentarily. Moving on to the draft, I did talk about squishiness. I gave River Falls a lot of crap about their squishy comp, but I will say University of Texas Dallas isn't looking much better. The only main take that I can see front to back if the fight does end up going that way is Goat. Goat is playing Pantheon, which you can build tank, as I'm sure he will. A little bit of the healing coming out from the Conqueror, which is the rune that he's building, the little X right underneath his flash icon. However, not really a lot. Maybe if the Yone builds a shield bow, there's going to be a little bit more sustain there, as that shield will proc under about 1/4 of health, I believe. But other than that, there's not a lot of heavy lifting, or there's not a lot of health pools in this game. A lot of the fights, especially in the late game, if we make it to that, is going to be snappy, snappy, snappy. Keep your eyes on these hyper carries, as they are going to tear through the enemy team. I'm talking the Sivir, I'm talking the Hui, I'm talking the Yone, and I'm talking about the Qiyana. Not to say that Aatrox can't contribute, and Arrow Hunter will provide support from the back, but mainly is going to be used for utility. I'm talking more so Eerie is going to be able to shred up, especially once they hit that 3-item mark. It's just a matter of time if River Falls can hit that point. Looking at left side draft for the University of Texas Dallas, I will say that they have a little bit more of an early game lead going for them. Some more difficulties right now. University of Texas Dallas does have a few DCs still going, but that is okay because we are still having all the adrenaline pumping straight into the veins and crossing the blood-brain barrier. I am just as excited as all of you guys, and we're going to have to be patient as we kick off our very first League of Legends game on the season at the University of Wisconsin, River Falls. Now, we're jumping onto the Rift. Everybody seems to be connected. And honestly, what can I say other than the squishiness? For the level 1 trades, I'm really going to be looking into this bottom lane with an artillery mage like Hui and somebody like Seraphine who can pump him up from the back as well. It's going to be very, very difficult for Mr. Wadsworth and Eerie to get in close to do enough damage to have a worthwhile trade. Now, Arrow Hunter going to go ward for his jungler. This is a very, very good macro right here that we're seeing. Oh, actually doesn't pop down the ward. A little bit of a freeze, but that's completely okay. Just wondering to see if Goat is going to go for a steal play. Now, this is an actual strat that you can do on the blue side as long as you have enough information from your laners. You can steal enemy Raptors as Pantheon, and there's not much contention that the enemy can do. However, Arrow Hunter is on this. The ward goes down by Goat, so they will know if Qiyana makes those rotates or starts on red side. It's very good from Pantheon, as now he can have the potential for buff rating as he has information of which side Qiyana is going to start on. If you don't know about Pantheon, once he hits that level 2 mark, he can pretty much wipe any camp and steal them away from the Qiyana. Qiyana's clear is very good as well. I believe you can still get it sub 3 minutes. However, Pantheon is going to be very, very difficult to deal with in a 1v1 situation in the jungle, especially if you don't have laner help. So we're going to have to see if Peach can handle that. Peach is going to be a rename for our wonderful enchanting Jizu. Taking a little bit of a poke in the top lane. It's completely okay. I'm surprised to see a Doran's Blade rather than a Doran's Shield, considering that, as I mentioned earlier, the stat check champion that is Yone typically doesn't have the strongest level 1, especially against Aatrox. They both have 3-pronged Qs, but Aatrox should usually win that kind of trade from level 1 to about level 3. We're going to have to see eventually. I am going to have to change my monitors right here real quick. Apologies for that. We are now seeing... Oh, Peach actually takes an early back here. We're zooming into the future real quick. This is Future James coming in right now, giving you some foresight on the game. We have now hit level 5 and 4 for the supports, as well as the carries. And it looks like there's not going to be a lot of trading right now, not a lot of kills going back and forth from either player. But enough spoiler shields. We don't have to get that out of the way. Going back into the top lane, there's going to be a lot of scuffles right now, a lot of poking and prodding, but no real damage is being done to push them off of this wave. The CS is still going to remain even, or relatively even, for these top laners. And maybe I was wrong. Maybe Doran's Blade is the way to take it for the Yone. I'm very, very surprised. But Alzeria, let's see if they can also land any of these Qs. The second Q2 lands. Q3 does not, but the CS farm continues. That is the name of the game right now. Stun comes up. Carlos Crunch taking a huge trade down to about a third of health. Arrow Hunter playing this lane beautifully. Syndra actually should be winning this 1v1 against Arrow Hunter as the Victor. Victor not being really a champion until level 3 to level 6. So very surprised Carlos Crunch opted for that kind of trade. But very, very good from the mid lane right now. Wave is crashing around the bottom lane right now. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot of problems for Falsey and Atsa. They are just going to hold the lane exactly where they want and collect that CS. However, Qiyana is hovering, going for bottom scuttle. Can Pantheon takes top scuttle right now? It's just going to be a scuttle trade. Now here's the other interesting thing about the jungle matchup. Qiyana, like I said, has a very, very quick clear. So if they do skip a Krug or a Raptor camp, they are able to get double scuttle. But I think that Peach has a good read on this, not wanting to trade, or rather not wanting to take double scuttle at risk of losing their Krugs or Raptor camp. So I think there's a very good play right now. I think there's going to be a little bit of a mid-scuffle right now, the 2v2. Goat and Carlos Crunch actually might be stronger on this timer, but Peach flashes over the wall. Arrow Hunter follows it with a flash. The stun goes through as the Goat is in his E. Peach dealing a lot of damage as well. Qiyana W lands as well as Zarya also trading in the top lane. And we have instant action right now. I expect nothing less from River Falls. Goes airborne with the Q3, but Alzeria is not having any of that, pushing that wave into the Yone, and brought down to 1 HP is Goat. I was very, very surprised how Peach played that. Very, very impressive. And from Arrow Hunter, I think Arrow Hunter was also caught off guard with a panic flash over the wall going in for this play, but a good chunk nonetheless. Unfortunately, I don't think the University of Wisconsin River Falls gets anything from this play other than a good chunk and a force back from the Pantheon. But again, doesn't really matter that much because Peach also had to back at the end of that scuffle to start buying items, got a little bit of a serrated edge, got some attack speed. However, first strike on Peach with Qiyana, very interesting rune to run, so any scuffle is a good scuffle as long as you can hit them first. In case you don't know, Peach, our Qiyana, is running the rune first strike. As long as you hit an enemy first while out of combat, you will get bonus gold and bonus damage dependent on the amount of damage that you deal. And speaking of damage, a whole butt ton of damage coming out for JXU. Brought down to a single hair of health, forces the flash. Alzeria is, oh my goodness, I am botching these names, but Alzeria is absolutely showing them who is boss in these top lane. Goodness golly gracious. Victor is going to pop it back in the mid lane, and Falsey and Atsa is also going to push the bottom lane. Let's see how River Falls can respond to this. Can they catch the waves in both of these lanes? The teleport is going to come through from Victor. And it looks like it's just going to be a slow walk back from Eerie and Wadsworth. Wadsworth opting to stay with Eerie for catching this wave instead of giving over the XP. I think it's important because once that Karma hits level 6, the roam opportunities are exponentially higher than pre-6. It's a very, very good play. Qiyana now hovering in the bottom lane. However, there is nobody there. Knock, knock. Who's there? Nobody, because no one from the University of Texas Dallas is going to be in the bot lane. I'm wondering if they're going to go for Drake here, if they're just going to do a quick push first. They do opt for the quick push. Very, very good. I guess you would consider it micro, but a little bit of macro coming in, knowing to crash the wave first before going for Drake. And now we have 4 individuals from the University of River Falls going onto the Drake. But while they make this play, Alzeria is off for on his own. JXU does have the ult, did already expend it within this fight. Alzeria also forced to do the World Ender. Goat takes a turret shot, and that's able to save the Aatrox, scattling off with his life intact and his dignity. Looks like Goat is going to go for a walk around. There is no ward in this bush, but Alzeria sniffs him out. Big damage coming up, but the stun lands true from Goat. The E is still up. Is he going to land up one more auto attack? Yes, he is. That's going to be a bunch of bonus gold for Alzeria, and he gets away because the Q3 is not stacked for this lethal tempo Yone. What are you doing, JXU? You got to stack that on the minions before you go to play like this. Goodness golly, a solo kill and a 1v2 in the top lane. Oh my goodness golly, this is exactly what I show up for. University of Wisconsin River Falls just showing their early game prowess again. It's disgusting. It's ridiculous. And I have never been more proud of a team in my entire life. But I also don't want to count chickens too soon. They are about 300, 200 gold ahead on the blue side here. So we're going to see if the University of Texas can solidify that gold lead, even though that they did get outplayed on both sides of the map, as the first Drake ended up going towards the University of Wisconsin River Falls. Cloud Drake, extra movement speed, going to be very, very good for all of these squishies. Pantheon ult, huge cooldown comes through, but it is going to pay dividends. Falsey claims Mr. Wadsworth's life, and Eerie may be next on the chopping block, has to force the flash under the tier 1 turret. Goat down to half. However, it is too late before the support. -1, misses the cannon, so it's all worth it. Good play onto the bottom side. It's very, very difficult to expect the Pantheon ult as he just hit 6. Unfortunately, there's not much Mr. Wadsworth can do right there. Once you hit that stun and once he pops the E, it is going to be an unkillable Pantheon for the next 2 seconds. JXU taking a very, very bad trade once again in this top lane. I don't understand if he just doesn't necessarily understand the matchup or if he's just really going for the CS and playing a Bouse where he doesn't really care about the kills. 3 serrated edges right now and a Cole, so playing for that attack speed and a little bit more of a stacking. The Yone ultimate is going to come through. Peach gets one shot while trying to claim the grubs. No wards are here for the University of Wisconsin River Falls, so they had no idea that Carlos Crunch, Goat, and JXU were up in this top river. However, JXU did claim his life. Meanwhile, in the battle, Azaria brought down to 1 health. Oh my goodness, can the lifesteal make it happen? Yes, it can. Force the flash over the wall, but not before claiming the life of Goat. Goat also falls. That is going to be a 2-for-1 trade. And none of the grubs are going to be claimed from the University of Texas because of that trade. Very, very well done and very good rotate from Arrow Hunter, also escaping barely with his life, coming out on top of that exchange. 2-1 kills favoring River Falls. None of the grubs were taken, so it is still a neutral objective for both teams. Let's see if Peach actually wants to make a rotate back up after clearing the bottom side camps. I believe that may be the proper strategy right now. Bottom lane seems to be a little bit more stable as of right now. Pantheon ult, like I said, has a very, very long cooldown, so they don't need to worry about that for a while. Drake is not up for another 2 minutes, but Pantheon Goat is going to be hovering the top lane. If they can get this pack onto Alizera, they are going to claim the grubs for themselves. However, Alizera smells this from a mile away, gets knocked up from JXU, and then gets stunned from Goat, stays in the lane instead of going back to his tower, and a kill is claimed for the Yone in the top lane. A revenge kill coming through for the 3-1 Aatrox. A shutdown is not claimed, however, as shutdown was not triggered for this Aatrox quite yet, so you can look at that as a silver lining for this University of Texas play that honestly started paying its dividends already, as now Goat is going to claim those grubs and get his entire team that extra turret damage. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, there's going to be a little bit of a scuffle, but no real damage is going to be traded. The Yone now very, very high up in gold over this Aatrox despite the kill lead. Got a tunneler and a pickaxe, but is making his way back, limping his way back to the lane as he has not claimed a single plate yet. Meanwhile, JXU has already claimed 3 of the plates for his own. That is a ton of gold in the pocket of the Yone. He might be able to afford his Bork by now. We're going to see if he actually builds into it right. Drake is going to be up in 39 seconds. We're going to see if River Falls wants to play around the Drake stacking and go for the late game, or if they want to just play for these early scuffles. Unfortunately, the grub objective has been taken, so there's nothing going to be playing around in the top side. Peach is instead going to opt the back instead of going for any sort of play on top side, as, you know, there's nothing there. We have a red ward. The grubs are gone. The entire top side has been farmed. There's no reason for the Kiana to be there, so looks like she's going to make her way down south to this 10-second spawn Drake. Goat has the exact same idea, claimed his entire bot side except for the Krugs. However, Peach has a whole level over Goat, and this level deficit may be the kicker. Pantheon ult comes through. Arrow Hunter trying to shield himself, stunning the Pantheon under the turret, but it's not going to matter as the E comes through, blocking the majority of the damage from the turret shot, brought down to half health. However, that might be Drake for River Falls. They are at a man deficit, so they have to play this very, very careful. Arrow Hunter is not going to be up for 15 more seconds. However, he does have the teleport at his disposal. He can get a teleport down into the lane and start rotating to the Drake. Let's see if River Falls can slow stroke this. This is exactly what we want to see from this team. They understand that Arrow Hunter is going to be up in 1 more second. The TP is going to come through onto the ward in the bottom pixel brush. big scuffle is going to come through on the top side as well. Alzaria forced to pop the World Ender. Big damage onto JXU, but JXU is just going to walk it off. Now the scuffle in the bottom river. Goat going to jump in, stun, and then immediately onto Mr. Wadsworth. But Mr. Wadsworth pops the heal. Goat brought down to 1 HP, but instead it's Atsa who the entire team turns on. Goat then cut down by Eerie with those Silver Blades, and Riverfall is going to look for this second Drake. It's exactly what I anticipated. They're just going to start Drake stacking and look for the turn. Carlos Crunch and Falsey really want to make something happen right now. JXU, meanwhile, pushing the Aatrox off the top turret. They are going to get feats of warfare for the first turn of the game, but it might not matter as the entirety of the University of Texas falls at the feet of River Falls. Carlos Crunch surely to follow his bottom laner, the ADC, or rather the bottom lane mage. Falsey has already jumped out of the pit, expended all of his utility, and didn't do anything for the Drake. Carlos Crunch was soon to follow, and the second Drake, the Earth Drake, is now claimed for River Falls. Great turn and great slow stroke from them. However, Arrow Hunter is going to be picked up in the mid lane. An unfortunate misplay right there. Did end up stunning and putting that shield around himself, but it was a little too late. The E damage from those spears and that immortality from the Pantheon is just a little bit too much to handle for a Victor at this current level and this current time. Hexgun is going to be complete, so, you know, Victor's going to be doing a little bit more damage. However, Hexgun has been complete for Syndra for a while now. 110 CS deficit in the mid lane, overtaking this Victor. However, Victor has been there for a lot longer in the team fights, and that's why the rest of his team has been able to thrive. Surprising enough, the top turret actually wasn't taken by JXU. Alzaria able to defend that just in time. JXU is forced to pop the E right away, is about to snap back. Can Peach and Alzaria make something happen? No, they can. The flash is forced to be expended. JXU using that Q3 to knock up Alzaria. Alzaria just trying to get the wave, but it is not enough. The World Ender was not available. It's going to be up in 1 more second, but not before the Syndra waltzes over from the mid lane and claims his life for his own. Good news is the Victor, the entire time in the mid lane, has been chunking down this turret, but it's not going to be enough. Finally, Goat uses his ultimate into the mid lane. That R key is destructive this game. 3 confirmed kills with 3 ultimates since level 6. Goat is running this mid lane right now. Can Arrow Hunter bounce back? That is going to be the question. We've seen him in worse predicaments before. We have seen him in Bessa mid before. I'm sure he can make it work on Victor, especially during this late game. But can they slow stroke it, or are they going to let this game get away from them? Because the University of Dallas is coming to play right now, and they are not messing around. Bottom lane, doing really, really well. I will say 1-0-3 on the Sivir with a respectable amount of CS compared to the Hui. It's going to be a lot more difficult for the Sivir to farm compared to a Hui, who's just a burst artillery mage, so very, very impressive there. As long as they can get that Sivir to about 2 or 3 items, they should be able to win almost any team fight if they can get a good pick, especially with Peach running around the jungle, hiding in all of these bushes and getting these great rock cues down onto these enemy players. Arrow Hunter getting caught in the jungle again. Krugs was being taken by JXU, expends the E, and the Yone cuts down the Victor in his tracks. Unfortunately, no warding on the side of University of Wisconsin River Falls, and the first turret in the top lane has been taken down. Let's see if there's going to be a refrag coming through from Peach. The ultimate is expended onto JXU. A ton of damage. I don't think the W is going to save you there, bud. Ult's away. Going to get an execution from the turret. Maybe pick up a little bit more CS. Can he do it? The Y is expended. Gets 1 more CS before dying, but the shutdown goes to the Kiana, and that is a ton of gold you don't want to give over that easily. Alizria just picking up this wave now, trying to pick up the pieces of his lane that unfortunately did fall during the early game, but it is not over till the fat lady, or rather the skinny lady on the hoverboard sings or dies. We'll see if Atsa can make it through until the very end. In the bottom lane, we see Atsa and Falsey going for this tier 1, and because they got all 3 grubs, this turret is going to get shredded. Can River Falls make a power play or a blitz down to protect this turret? I don't think it's going to be enough. I think it's just going to be given over to the University of Texas. Meanwhile, Azaria, Peach, and Arrow Hunter are here fending off Goat from this Rift Herald. JXU now joining the fight. Is this going to be turned into a fight? The Victor all is expended, doing a lot of tick damage, but it's not going to be enough. Alzaria now brought down to about half HP. Peach was executed before the fight even started. Alzaria putting in as much work on the Aatrox as he can, but it does not matter. Before the Q2 can go off, the Pantheon shuts him down, and that is a 0-for-3 trade in favor of the University of Texas. Goat now collecting his blue buff as a complimentary trophy. I don't know if the Rift Herald went to River Falls. I believe it did. Yes, it did. So River Falls did claim the objective in the end, but at what cost? 3 of their players fell, and now top tier 2 may fall as well. Following in line with a common theme that we've been seeing with River Falls this game is losing a team fight, and then unfortunately losing an objective right afterwards. However, we're going to see if Wadsworth can protect this tier 2 turret. No, he can't, but he can root up JXU. Are they going to get this chase on Alizria does have that dash expended, but instead going to clear the wave, opting to give the kill to Eerie. Let's see if Eerie can chase him down. The slow does not land from the boomerang. Mr. Wadsworth trying to catch up as well, maybe going to land that root. Flash is expendable for both of these players, and there's no flash on Yone. However, they decide against it as Yone ult is up and could provide a double knockup, maybe even a few free kills. They're going to opt against it. Kraken Slayer is online as well as Talons, but meanwhile, we got a fight right now. The ultimate for Peach goes huge, lands onto 2 enemy players. Falsey putting an ultimate onto Peach, however, claims that kill in return. Goat now stuck into a Victor queue, gets stunned up, but it's not before he can kill the Aatrox. Now Goat on Hunter has the prize in his sights. Can Goat make it out? The invulnerability from the E comes through, but it pays dividends as the victor now falls. Mr. Wadsworth trying to help out his team. Eerie caught in the middle of 3 players of the enemy team just trying to get away. The spell shield has been extended to get rid of that slow, but I don't think it's going to matter as JXW is hot on his heels. And that is a clean ace from the University of Wisconsin, rather the University of Texas onto the University of Wisconsin. Good golly gracious, one heck of a team fight. There was so many different movements going on. I couldn't really keep track of it. The first Drake the University of Wisconsin can claim is going to be Chemtech Soul. Now, Chemtech Drake, sorry, the Chemtech Drake. Now, Chemtech Soul is what's on the table now. The third Drake to spawn after players have gotten the second Drake is the Soul and all of the Drakes subsequently that are going to spawn. It is a guarantee. So moving forward, it is going to be Hexchem Drake moving forward. If River Falls can stack onto 2 more Drakes, a Chem Drake Soul would be very, very beneficial for this team comp. Especially with Eerie and Arrow Hunter providing so much poke damage, I think it's going to be necessary. However, we all need to be looking onto Alizria and Peach to see if they can get through the peel on the University of Texas' side to get to those hyper carries, to get to that artillery mage that is Falsey before they can get online. Blackfire Torch has been completed with Scattered Ashes, so they are just going to poke and prod with burn damage every single team fight. They need to make these quick, and they need to make these executed. Let's see if River Falls can do just that. Top lane vision battle is going on. Alizria smells something is off in the bottom lane, so opts to just move out of the way. Pops that ward plant down and correctly assumes that Pantheon was waiting in the wings for them. Goat, level 12 now, could pick off any of these champions. Very, very scary force to be reckoned with. Every ultimate is up for every player, so the next team fight we see is going to be an absolute bloodbath. We're going to have to see where it happens, though. It looks like they want to play around Autocon. That 20-minute mark spawns the big new objective this season. Can they make an Autocon play? This is the easiest objective to screw up, so if River Falls can make it work, then maybe they have a chance to come back into this game. Peach now frontlining, going right onto Falsey. Falsey, what are you doing? Ends up getting the support. Atsa healing him up. Peach not going back in on Falsey to finish the job. Alzaria brought down to 1 HP and is end up claimed by the Syndra. 2 players left on the University of Wisconsin River Falls. Can they make miracles happen? Eerie gets taken out by the Pantheon ult. Actually, it's going to be the Syndra W, and it's all up to Peach. Can she take out Falsey? Yes. Now, let's see if they can go for 2. Atsa, the support player, is going to be in trouble. Peach takes them down with a triple kill. It's just going to be a 1v2 situation. 1 HP Peach. Going to wait for the W to hop over the wall. The stun from Carlos Crunch misses on the Syndra. Goat hot on the heels, though, behind enemy lines. Peach running away for their life. And it looks like Carlos Crunch is going to change their tune, moving into the top lane to just farm. Peach still running, trying to get away from this Pantheon, but Pantheon has no idea where they went. Popping in that scanner, misses every single ability. The stun comes through from Goat on that pixel bush, and Goat is godlike with the Sunder and Sky Pantheon build. Very, very good run from Peach. Almost made it out of there, very clear. Tried to recall at the Wolves, but correctly understood that the Pantheon was still hunting for them. However, kept the enemy off of Otacon, got enough kills to ensure that the enemy would not secure the same objective. Very, very well done from Peach, putting the team in that backpack and hurting her back in the process. So we're going to have to see how the rest of this game rolls down. Eerie pumping out some fierce damage now. Got a big sword and got some Greaves for that extra attack speed. One more item and this Sivir is going to start pumping. University of Texas better not underestimate this Sivir. Jumping off the Otacon now, Goat. Trying his best to poke, prod, and see where River Falls is weak right now. What makes River Falls tick, but unfortunately there's nothing going on. Is Syndra spotted in the top lane right now? They could make a play onto the Syndra that would guarantee Otacon. Arrow Hunter smells blood in the water, pops the E and goes for this kill. Goat, meanwhile, 1v1ing Peach onto the Otacon pick. The ultimate is available for... Oh, actually, the... ultimate was already used by Peach. Goat, unfortunately, does not have any sort of ultimate at their disposal. Lots of players from the University of Wisconsin River Falls brought down to half HP. The Otacon is started. Goat taking a lot of damage right now from this Otacon as well. Colorless Crunch being a very, very squishy target. It all comes down to Fulci. Can the Artillery Mage make magic happen? Arrow Hunter popping up all of... Oh my gosh, taking all of the damage from the front line. A double Yone ult on 2 members of the University of Wisconsin River Falls. And the kill feed comes up blue. A clean ace was in the bag for the University of Texas before Peach stomped on it and stole away a kill on the Yone at the very, very end. Honestly, better than a clean ace. Unfortunately, though, the Otacon does go towards the University of Texas Dallas. We will see if River Falls can make a comeback in this game. A 10K gold deficit is very, very difficult, but not impossible. Very, very close game right now that we are seeing despite this gold deficit. The Yone ult proved to be the decision maker within that fight. A little bit of overcrowding from the University of Wisconsin River Falls, but if we can amend that mistake, start playing different positions and angles, they might have some hope into this game yet. Staff of Flowing Flower is now bought for the Seraphine as well as an IE on the Sivir. This is exactly where I was talking about these power spikes coming in from the ADC of River Falls. Can Sivir make some magic happen? Can Eerie prove to us that he is not just a support player, but he can play ADC? He can play any role he needs to as long as he can carry the team. Keep your eyes on Peach and Eerie in these team fights as they are going to be dealing lots of damage and full sending onto these squishy players from University of Texas. Second Drake is going to be claimed for University of Texas, or rather their second Drake, the 4th Drake of the game. 2 Chemtech Drakes is going to provide a lot of tankiness and a little bit extra damage depending on the health bars. We're going to have to see how this rolls down. The movement speed and tankiness is going to prove in River Falls' favor from the 2 Drakes that they have. The stun is going to land on an Arrow Hunter from the Syndra. Syndra is not going to follow it up because they smell something is wrong. Kiana is heading there in the bottom bush. Unfortunately, Alzeria on the other side of the map makes a misplay and gets caught by 4 members of the University of Texas. Can Peach make it out alive? Yes, they can. The tower shots are not going to be enough, but it is still a failed dive on the bottom side. The Syndra lives another day, and JXU takes another tower for his name. It is just ongoing and ongoing. These domino falls for River Falls. Everything is collapsing. Arrow Hunter taking a really bad trade in the bottom lane as well. Carlos Crunch still sitting on half HP while Arrow Hunter has to lick his wounds and go all the way back to the bottom back bush of red side to recall into the fountain. Peach Wadsworth now just clearing up the wave, trying to rekindle some sort of hope for this game. Let's see if we can make some magic happen, ladies and gentlemen. I am excited for the remainder of this game. It still can go any way. They are still fighting tooth and claw. They are not giving up any sort of distance, playing the vision game as well as possible. Bottom side is warded out. The information is there. Nobody is pushing into the bottom side. Syndra may still be under tier 1. This is a 4-man attempt on the Baron, but instead it is called off by the University of Texas. JXU now pushing in the mid wave. Ooh, Q3 lands on Mr. Wadsworth. Mr. Wadsworth might get one shot right now. JXU pops the Yone ult and takes out 2 for his trouble. All of the abilities are expended from Fulci and claims himself a Sivir and a tier 2 in the meantime. 2 members of River Falls can fall. Does this mean the University of Texas can make a power play onto the Baron? We will have to see. Peach trying to make some magic happen as well. As I keep reiterating, magic is what they need. Some sort of spell, some sort of eerie cast, an unsettling presence, as I brought up earlier in this broadcast. Any sort of fear to strike into the University of Texas. JXU piloting around that red buff. onto the red side, ensuring that there's no chance for a Kiana steal. Kiana could steal this very easily with the Rock Q and Smite combo. It is almost impossible to counteract. However, Peach was not there, opting to go into the bottom side instead, understanding that they are simply too weak right now to try and go for a Baron flip, instead opting to give away the objective to farm up their jungle a little bit more. JXU fishing right now for Eerie, but Eerie is a little too smart for that. Doesn't want any beef right now from JXU. JXU does have the Q3 stacked, but does not have the ultimate. I don't believe that Eerie is in any trouble, especially with that spell shield of getting one shot quite yet. Q3's away, and JXU is out of the top lane. Peach now clearing the bottom lane out. It is a back and forth in the laning game right now at 27 minutes. Very, very interesting to see where this goes. Unfortunately, that's Riverfall's only play, is to play the farming game in the lane, as this huge level deficit is really biting them in the ass right now during these team fights. Level 15 to level 13 on their carries, level 16 to level 14 in the jungle, and level 17 to level 13 in the mid lane. Let's see if Arrow Hunter can bounce back and start making some more plays that we know him for. JXU, the ultimate is up. Instead, not trying to use it. Carlos Crunch getting caught in the bottom right now. The redemption is too little, too late from the Seraphine. Adza tried his best to keep his boy alive, but it's not going to be enough. Oh, but the Mr. Wadsworth gets caught and stunned up. The Yone ultimate and Q3 combo goes wide. Ends up landing on Arrow Hunter, gets one shot, 40-second death timer, and gray screen for our mid laner. Eerie forced to flash away onto the top inhibitor. Can Peach make some sort of play right now? Adza brought down to 1 HP, but is still able to pop out any of those abilities. Falsey calling an artillery mage play in right now, popping all of the abilities they can. JXU now in the Yone Y, looking for anything, fishing for something to end this game. Peach on the back line. Can something happen right now? Takes the blast cone over, but gets one shot by JXU, not before bringing him down to 1 HP. Is that going to be enough to inhibit them from getting this inhibitor? Yes, it is. It's going to be a full man back and regroup for the University of Texas. Alzeria now covering the mid lane. River Falls fighting tooth and nail to stay in this, not giving them an inch where they want a mile. Eerie now closing in on 3 items after the IE and Talons. Got a quiver in the back pocket with some Greaves. River Falls did claim the Feats of War from their fantastic early game, so all of the boots are going to be upgraded. So this late game Sivir is going to be even more of a late game Sivir hyper carry, as long as River Falls can hold off long enough. The third Chemtech Drake of the game and the third Drake for the University of Texas is going to be claimed. They are now on Soul Point. Arrow Hunter gets caught in the mid lane. The Victor gets absolutely one shot by the entire team of the University of Texas. They are marching down the mid lane now. Q3 from the Yone clears the rest of the wave. Goat spearheading the rest of this, and this is exactly what I was talking about. The single tank on the side of the University of Texas is spearheading this fight, and unfortunately there's just not enough damage for a front-to-back fight. Carlos Crunch claims the one-shot kill onto Eerie, and they fall time and time and time again. River Falls, the kill feed lights up with bodies, but not before Peach can claim one back. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough with 4 members of the University of Texas stomping into the base of River Falls and claiming game number 1. Jinx Rocket does take out that large, beautiful red crystal, but don't be alarmed. It is still a best-of-3 series. Comeback is entirely possible for the University of River Falls. We are going to take a short break before game number 2. We will see you in a second. Stay tuned. Perfect. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 2 of the University of Wisconsin River Falls versus the University of Texas Dallas League of Legends match. Unfortunately, it was a bitter loss last game for the University of Wisconsin. However, can they bounce back this game? We'll have to see. There was a lot of confidence in the draft during the initial drafting period with that third-party client, so I have a lot of hopes for this. In the top lane, we're going to see the Volibear Mordekaiser matchup. Lots of bloodshed to be had here. Very, very excited. JXU on that Volibear. We know how impressive he was with the Yone. Let's see if he can make it happen with a little bit more of an interesting character, not necessarily a stat checker, not necessarily a one-shotter, but more of a poke and run away kind of character. And Alzeria on that Mordekaiser, using it more for utility purposes, plucking out the jungler during a smite fight, or maybe plucking out the Annie to ensure that a large play cannot be made onto the University of Wisconsin. So we're going to have to see how the Mordekaiser pick translates later into the game. Moving on to the jungle role, we have Peach on Kindred. Kindred was a very, very interesting pick right now, as we were considering the Kiana for a while to rerun it back at how well they did onto the Kiana. However, Peach insisted that the Kindred was going to be the correct pick here. We're going to see if that pays dividends down the road. Meanwhile, Goat, moving off of that Pantheon, choosing to do a personal fearless draft for their own team. Ooh, we have a little bit of a scuffle right now into the bottom river. Peach popping that W out, popping a lot of damage onto Atsa. Eerie maybe trying to follow it up with a little bit of that Ash Arrow. No, it's just going to be some damage poke. JXU not aware that Alzeria was in that bush, but does not matter. It's just a little bit of a poke. Doran's Ring is not going to provide any of that HP back, but the health potions will, hopefully. Anyway, back to Goat on this Viego pick. This is going to be one of the primary targets in team fights for River Falls. It is going to be Goat and Falsey. We'll get to Falsey later. However, on the side lane, Carlos Crunch, or potentially pre-objective or pre-team fight, Carlos Crunch is going to be the primary target for River Falls. Annie is going to be the primary engage for the University of Texas. So we're going to have to see if River Falls can make some smart plays and maybe expend the Annie flash early like they did already at level 1. Annie's flash is on a very long cooldown right now, and nobody's flash was expended on the side of Wisconsin. So we're going to see if there's going to be an early mid gank potentially with Annie no flash, or perhaps they're just going to allow the moral victory and the mental boom, as losing flash level 1 can never feel good. Alzeria popping that passive in, doing a little bit of tick damage with that AoE onto JXU, but it's not going to be enough to deter the giant polar bear from dealing a little bit more damage, a half-half trade. However, JXU does have some healing in the kit. Alzeria only has the shield. We're going to have to see how this matchup goes once they hit level 3 and have all of their abilities except for the ultimate at their disposal. Alzeria, very, very good wave state right now, pushing into him, but not quite under the turret yet, keeping JXU at arm's length. Both CSing quite well, 7-13. However, it is very, very clear who the victor is in this current trade, especially with the current wave state. JXU goes airborne with the W landing from Alzeria. The shield is popped from both of these players. One is the Thunderstorm Crash, and the other one is gathering up all of the energy from their passive bar, where the Mana bar should be on a Mordekaiser. However, the shields are going to save both of the top laners from certain death at the hands of each other. Flash was expended into the top lane. Alzeria not thinking that JXU was going to flash forward, so both flashes have been traded into the top. Lethal tempo was stacked for that Volibear. I think that's what he was going for, was a little bit more of the lethal tempo play, but to no avail. The flash was used by Alzeria. Now there can be no Mordekaiser flash play. However, as I said earlier, he's completely happy with that. The flash trade is totally fine for this Mordekaiser with the current wave state. And with Conqueror, he's going to be able to heal that up just fine. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, we're going to have a scuffle in the bottom river right now. Goat is going to be on a ward. Arrow Hunter does see him, as well as Peach, and this may prove to be fatal for the side of Texas, but hold on, Eerie is now getting caught, forced to flash, but the slow is still going to hit from Falsey as that Hex Tech pistol lands right onto the forehead of Ash. The flash comes through from Goat, trying to one-shot the Ash. However, Eerie is staying along for so long. The reset comes through, but the stun lands onto Goat while he is in that Ash form. It is a 1-for-1 trade, make that a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Dallas. Mr. Wadsworth now gets hit by that Hex Tech pistol, is soon to follow in the kill feed. Arrow Hunter, the last to survive, but he's behind enemy lines. Is he going to make it out? Falsey with that Jinx passive activated takes the blast cone out. I think they are just going to let him get away. They don't want to go too far behind no man's land, as the Ashe and Nami were on the way and could have ganked them at the tier 2 tower. Very, very good play from the University of Texas Dallas. Very close play from the University of Wisconsin, but unfortunately, it was a simple man advantage going in. They abandoned their ADC in the bottom lane, and Erie just got absolutely screwed. Now we have another tussle, but this time it's going to be in the top river. Goat getting one shot by Alzeria and Peach. A really big misplay by the Viego, and a great roam by this Mordekaiser. This is why we picked the champion. Push in that wave, crash it from that incredible wave state, and the macro that he was using into the top lane, and transfer that into a kill in the top river with your Kindred. Very, very well played by University of River Falls, and that brings them right back into the game. The competitive integrity of this is phenomenal. JXU getting that shield from the Thunder Crash. Stun lands on Alzeria, but now he's got a full Conqueror stack. Lethal Temple does come through, and Alzeria pops the passive to get that shield. You can't kill this man. That big mace lands right onto the forehead of Polar Bear, and looks like we're cooking up some slimy, wormy bear meat tonight. Goodness golly gracious, Alzeria, how good is this kid? Can we just talk about that right now? Winning lane every single time, no matter what we put him on, getting all of these solo kills, 1v2ing if needed. Now going to pop it back. Let's see what he can get with that 37 CS and a solo kill with an assist from that river play. A mace, a ruby gem, and a tome. Oh my goodness, he's going to be a menace in this top lane. Volibear needs to be very, very careful. And the wave state, once again, this wave control pushed perfectly into the Mordekaiser. The Volibear now has to come to him in order to farm and play the video game of League of Legends. However, in the mid lane, we're going to see another play coming through. Peach uses every single ability and expends the anti-ult, and the Tibbers comes through. Oh my gosh, Carlos Crunch thought he was going to be safe, but Peach and Arrow Hunter just deal way too much damage. The Syndra stun landed onto the forehead of Carlos Crunch, leading in with all of the Kindred damage. I don't think he understood how lethal tempo works. Why did he stay there? Why did he not move behind the turret? Another kill goes in the way of River Falls, and now they've taken the lead single-handedly. Peach has brought every single lane back from the brink of extinction after last game's mental boom, and now every player is playing to their fullest, managing the waves, and pretty much doing God's work as one intends from this team. JXU taking a little bit more of a trade in the top lane, however, it's not going to be too detrimental for him. Alzeria misses that Q, but that's going to be completely fine. The wave state is now going to be equal. Things are going to start slowing down. I can give the old ticker a rest. Goodness golly, what a first couple scuffles. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? That was crazy. Peach now hitting level 6. The Viego is still level 5. They can contest this Drake, but it may come at a death toll for the University of Dallas. We're going to have to see if they want to contest this on red side. Vision control is going for River Falls. JXU taking another bit of a trade in the top lane, but that doesn't really matter because Drake is up, and bottom lane is where the action is going to happen. Let's see some movie magic from River Falls. Drake is started by Peach and Mr. Wadsworth. Arrow Hunter just trying to zone out, checking that Viego smoke to see where this invisible little guy is hiding. Goat scanning around, but no ultimate is available. He's not going to be able to ult in. The stun goes strong for the side of River Falls, but it's going to be a double Timber stun and anti-passive onto the foreheads of Peach and Wadsworth. It doesn't matter, though. The damage has already been done. Goat was taken down. Falsey flashes away, but not before Peach flashes right after him and trades that kill right back. Carlos Crunch now getting the heal from Atsa, but it isn't going to be enough. Peach using those Kindred dashes, and Erie hot on the heels of Carlos Crunch. Erie, unfortunately, does not have the arrow ult. I know he really wanted to use it, but instead, they're going to take the Tibbers as a complimentary bearskin rug trophy. Atsa preventing the back from Erie. Maybe they're going to be looking for a little bit of a kill right here. Viego has spawned back. River Falls needs to be aware of this. They may be in trouble here. Goat on the backside gets a free reset and a stun, and that is going to be a double kill for Dallas. An overextension from River Falls. They simply stayed a little too long. However, the objective wasn't claimed. Now Viego's going to steal the Drake away from River Falls. I think this was a serious overcommitment. Oh my goodness gracious, I thought the Drake was going to go towards River Falls regardless of how the fight went. But we can only move forward. We can only look forward. We are the Sharks in the night, or rather the Falcons with neck issues. We cannot look back. We can only move forward, and forward is where JXU is going, right into the waiting maw of Alzeria. I don't care if you consider the Polar Bear an apex predator, because Alzeria is on the top of the food chain in this top lane. Pushing him off the wave, 65 CS to 48, a full 17 CS advantage. I wonder if he's going to try and deny cannon here. I don't think it's going to be possible with the amount of damage that's being done. Arrow Hunter stuns up Carlos Crunch, forces the flash away. Tibbers did was sent out, but the stun did not land on Arrow Hunter. However, Arrow Hunter did not expect Goat to be waiting in this bush. Takes a huge chunk of damage from the Viego. The Viego ult is expended, but it's not going to land on Arrow Hunter. It was a huge miss. The Kindred ult saves Goat's life for now, but instead it's going to prolong the inevitable as he is cut down by the Kindred, and another mark is going to be claimed for this character after Grubs as he steals the blue buff. Super Mega Death Rocket goes through, but it lands onto the Mordekaiser and does nothing to him. Grubs go in the way of River Falls, and they trade one misplay objective for a fantastically played secondary objective. Let's see if any of the boys are going to help Kindred out with this mark. It's a simple blue buff. I don't think Volibear is going to be able to contest it. It looks like Viego's just going to start Raptors. But Volibear is actually wrapping around. I wonder if River Falls has any sort of semblance of knowledge about this, because they did have the Scuttle Crab, but I don't think he went within the view of it. And now JXU, with an item advantage, is going to try and take out Alzeria. However, Alzeria is too close to the turret. There's nothing he can do about it. Flash was expended by the Mordekaiser, so unfortunately that is not going to be a factor in the next fight. JXU has a smite over Alzeria, and Alzeria really needs to back very soon. A Giant's Belt and a refillable is not going to cut it for very much longer. He's going to need a whole nother item in order to fight this polar bear. JXU trading, keeping him off the wave, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Both players may miss the cannon. No, they don't. JXU keeps Alzeria off the cannon just in time. Unfortunately, it's going to be a -1 in the Mordekaiser's, or rather, in the Volibear's favor. Things are slowing down now a little bit. Seems like both junglers are just going to be farming. Peach going for a sneaky little steal right here, snagging away the blue buff. He understands that Viego was in the top side as that Scuttle Crab was claimed for River Falls. So they did have vision on where Viego was. Very, very good map awareness from the Kindred. Kindred mark actually lands onto the Wolves, but Viego is on the way. I wonder if Viego is just going to be a ship in the night. He's going to pass by this Kindred without even realizing that all the buffs are gone, and the Wolves are soon to follow. The mark was actually not quite claimed yet by Kindred because she's looking for a gank right now. Goat, however, sees them on the flank with a ward in the blue bush, and now both stuns are coming through. However, Goat doesn't realize that he's just getting out-damaged by this Kindred. I don't think he understood that the level deficit was just too much for him to handle. Carlos Crunch lands right in time for the Kindred ult to pop onto his forehead. However, it's not going to be enough as Eerie tracks him down and skewers the poor Annie and the poor teddy bear back into the grave and back to the fountain. That is going to be a 2-for-0 trade favoring River Falls over a wolf camp and an already gone blue buff. Very, very well played from River Falls. A good trap that was set. It was sniffed out by the Viego, but it was too little too late. Viego did not understand that the level deficit and the item deficit, the Kraken Slayer against Trinity Force, is just not going to cut it, especially when the entirety of bot lane is on the way. Level 8 Ashe versus a level 7 Falsey. That one level makes all the difference, especially with a lethal tempo stacked Ashe from the wave. And now River Falls are going to be in the driver's seat for once. After winning early game last game, they slowly started throwing it away in the mid game. But now, as we start approaching closer and closer to that 15-minute mark and potentially the 20-minute mark when Otacon spawns, River Falls should be sitting comfortably. JXU denying even more farm. This is when Volibear becomes a little bit stronger than Mordekaiser. Goat is on the way, trying to help out his Volibear, but the turret is still standing in the tier 1. Alzeria, he sees this from a mile away. JXU trying to do more damage, has to force out the ultimate and goes unstoppable, but Alzeria just claims a solo kill very, very easily, even with the Viego hovering. I'm not sure if he just thought that he was stronger, but now that, the Mordekaiser has a rod, there's not much he can do. I understand that Volibear had a Roa and thought he was stronger, but I guess not. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, it's the exact same story, different day. Atsa flashes over the wall. Eerie is soon to follow and gets a double kill for his efforts. That is a 2-for-0 trade. Straight 2v2 in the bottom lane. And they may be going for plates here. No! In fact, they're playing the macro game, playing the vision game, clearing out the wards first and setting up for Drake. This is very, very smart from River Falls. Plates were soon to fall anyway, so they understood that we need to prioritize the Drakes instead. Objective bounties are going to be available very, very soon. Most likely, ooh, Carlos Crunch almost brought down 0 health as well. But as I was saying, objective bounties are soon to be available for the University of Texas. Let's see if they can use those to make a comeback or if the game is just already lost. The Oceans bring life, and that means it is going to be an Ocean Soul for the game. All the Drakes are going to be Oceans. Goat loses half of his HP in his own jungle. Falsey may be soon to follow as Peach hops and dashes underneath the tier 1 turret, flashes forward. Atsa now in trouble, taking a lot of damage from this Kindred, but ends up getting away with the Melio heal and movement speed. However, it's not going to be enough, as this Ashe is just going to melt down turrets with their Q. Meanwhile, in the top lane, JXU yet again is in trouble, doesn't even get the shield from the crash down, and River Falls is running the map like it's a relay race now. Who wants to be MVP? Everybody's contesting for it, because game number 2 is shaping up to be one hell of a getaway. Goat now looking for a pick on Arrow Hunter. Arrow Hunter has to expend the flash. The ultimate comes through from Goat, but it's not going to kill anybody. Kindred ult comes through. Arrow Hunter becomes invulnerable, and it avoids the vicious jaws of this Viego with the help of his team. Alzeria now split pushing into the top lane, and everything is coming up blue. River Falls are very, very happy with this game state as they look towards Herald, and I think they're just going to get it here. 3 grubs on top of it. Any of these towers are going to be toast. It all depends on where River Falls wants to strike next. Carlos Crunch looking lost, looking worse for wear. Carlos understanding that the Annie was the entire pivoting point around this team comp. Use the Annie to flash in, to get a good stun off, to use that passive and that Tibbers in tandem with each other in order to engage the fight so that JXU, Goat, and Falsey can all follow it up with both of their ults, and then Falsey using, just basic auto attacks as a hyper carry. However, it has not gone that way even once this game. There was a Tibbers flash, I believe, once, but then it just went in the way of River Falls. So the plan is crumbling apart for this supposed fearless draft from the University of Texas. We are going to have to see if they can come back in this game, but it seems like River Falls is just toying with them at this point. Waves are getting pushed in on all 3 sides. Syndra hovering around where the Annie is playing in that bot lane. However, Vigo is hovering. Alzeria now going for another 1v1, but JXU is having none of that, using that W to get away swiftly and quickly before any damage can be done. Looks like it might be an Otacon setup. I understand the Otacon does not spawn for another 3 whole minutes. Might be Drake beforehand, but good vision game from River Falls. This is exactly what we want to see. Haven't had a need to use a lot of blue trinkets, and Carlos Crunch's flash is unfortunately used yet again. I was just hammering how important the flash ultimate Tibbers was for this team comp, and now it's not going to be available for another, well, I guess Drake and a half, because River Falls is looking to play around the bottom side of the jungle and claim all of the objectives for themselves. Goat looking for a pick in the top lane, trying to make something work for his team, but this Mordekaiser is way too far ahead, way too skilled, and way too beefy for the small toothpick that Goat is wielding right now. This Polar Bear is looking more like a teddy bear, and I'm not talking about Tibbers, with Mordekaiser 1v2ing single-handedly in the top lane, taking away all of the red team's defenses and utility. Alzeria maybe biting off a little bit more than he could chew, not understand that Atsa is here as well. Flashes over the wall in the Death Realm, and is now on a rampage, cuts down the Goat. Goat no longer, more like a sheep, as he's taken to the slaughterhouse. JXU may be up next, and Atsa is also on the chopping block. The mace lands and stumps Melio right into the dirt. JXU ults and flashes on Mr. Wadsworth, but he is away using the Nami mobility ability. Alzeria using all of his might, all of his talent, and all of his prowess to tear down the University of Texas as they look for a tier 2. Super Mega Death Rocket may get a complimentary kill, but it's not going to be enough to harden the hearts of all the University of Texas fans, as Falsey is soon to follow with Peach on the flank. They are a mean, lean, green machine today. And speaking of well-oiled machines, Arrow Hunter playing his role perfectly, side laning as the Syndra, playing the vision game like I said. River Falls has a read on all of the members. Oh no, but Peach actually gets stunned up. The Kindred ult is expended and goes immortal. Goes golden, it cannot be killed right now. Goat, however, trying to make something work after the Kindred ult expires, but no, it's not going to be enough. Eerie and Alzeria cut him down. JXU looking for the stun on Eerie, but it's not going to be enough as the pull comes through from Alzeria. And now, Volley Bear falls for the 5th time in in a row with not a single kill to his name. River Falls taking this game in hand and throwing it in the faces of the University of Texas. We call this one a beanball, ladies and gentlemen. And who, boy, are they going to be walking to first plate sore in the ass. Drake now set up for the University of River Falls. This is something that I brought up earlier. Mr. Wadsworth, Arrow Hunter, and Peach on this objective, playing it slow and composed. They had their fun playing for kills, but now they want to start putting this game into the bag. Potentially a back is going to pop out for some of these characters. Maybe they're going to look for another kill, or maybe just clearing out some more vision before the Otacon spawns. Or they're just going to start the Otacon before anything can happen. Arrow Hunter lands a stun, but he doesn't have any mana left to follow up. Goat brought down to about half HP after the Emilio ult hits. The Otacon is now brought down to half HP already. I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. 2 ADCs onto the Otacon, bringing it down. River Falls is running away with this game. Mordekaiser now into the bottom lane, pushing up into the side. University of Texas looks completely lost, scattered around the map. They have no idea where they are going. They have no idea what objective they want to play for. They have no idea how to bring this game back against the lean, mean, oiled machine that is River Falls. Goat going for the Krugs at the trade of an Otacon. I don't know if that's one that you want to take, my friends. Atsa now trying to protect the mid lane. Goat hovering around, but it's not going to be enough. Peach fearlessly going under the turret and getting a solo kill onto the enemy support. Alzaria now packing up his boy. The Goat is about to fall and going back to the slaughterhouse yet again for the 9th time this game. No, he's able to get away with 1 HP, but not before the Annie shuts down the Syndra, getting a trade back onto the Jinx. Honestly, a shutdown is not what you want to see. That's going to be a lot of gold going into the Annie's pocket. However, I think this game is done and dusted. River Falls bringing it back from the brink of extinction. Game number 1 didn't blow their minds out. It just made them angry. And you're not going to be excited when they're angry, okay? You're going to be scared. Eerie, living up to his name, making everybody unsettled on the enemy team, causing confusion through the entire rift. Go get stunned! Peach is legendary on an absolute killing spree. Carlos Crunch is soon to follow. The mid inhibitor is now down. Mega minions will be spawning. The ultimate is expended from JXU as the volley tries to get out of there. Falsey and Atsa, the last 2 members next to these Nexus turrets. Atsa brought down to 1 HP from 2 auto attacks of Peach. This Kindred is on a rampage right now. Oh my goodness, look at these. A Trinity Force, a Collector, a Rapid Fire. There's no way he can one-shot anybody on this team, and he's about to prove his point, taking out JXU and Falsey at the exact same time. Alzaria just kind of dicking around in the top lane, taking out that top turret, as the second Nexus turret is soon to follow here. Going down, Goat trying to get a complimentary kill on Eerie, but oh my goodness, the flash barrier. Nobody is falling on the side of River Falls. They are helping their homies out, and they want to put game number 2 in the bag. The Falcons fly high and take us to a series point on the Rift. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We're going to be back with game number 3. Stay tuned. Back, ladies and gentlemen, for game number 3, the ultimate showdown between the University of Wisconsin River Falls and the University of Texas Dallas. We have our draft laid out in front of us. This is not the order that the lanes will be going in. Hopefully, I assume it's not an Ashe ADC and a Galio support and an Mbessa ADC and Orianna support. But I know that to be a fact that it's not. We'll just start running down the list right now because everything is on the line for this game. The stakes have never been higher. 1-1 right now. Whoever takes this game takes the series, and these drafts mean everything. Starting on the side of River Falls, because they won the previous game, University of Texas did pick blue side going into game number 3. So we first have the Talon. This is going to be a Talon jungle. Very interesting and very mobile pick from Lily. We're going to have to see how Peach can work around these angles. Again, very opportunistic kind of jungler, similar to the Kiana that we had in game number 1. Renekton in the top, very, very strong and dominant top laner. Very good sustain, and with the amount of melees in the game, he only gets stronger and stronger. Unfortunately, opposing team, it's going to be a very difficult matchup, especially in this top lane, starting with the first few levels. Mbessa does outscale and win the lane, but in terms of team fights, as long as the Mbessa does not get a very good engage, the Renekton can run over the remainder of the team. So we're just going to have to see how well Alizria, I assume it's Alizria, I apologize if I'm butchering the pronunciation, Alizria can handle these late game team fights. That is going to be a big kicker right now for the side of University of Wisconsin River Falls. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Erie and Wadsworth going a very interesting combo that we actually see in some pro play is the Nico Ashe. Now, Ashe, we've already seen Erie on this champion, basically this entire series. Very good utility champion, very good at stacking Letho Temple on. They can run, Erie can run down the opponents, however, it is going to be very, very difficult without Wadsworth's abilities to peel. And Goat expends Flash at level 1, trying to pop down an early ward. River Falls expects this. They know where Goat goes at the beginning of the game. Peach, Erie, and Arrow Hunter trying to land the Galio taunt to no avail, but did end up getting the jungler's flash. There's going to be no early ganks for this Nocturne, at least for another 3 minutes. So very well done from River Falls. Let's see if they can make anything happen in the meantime. Going back into the bottom lane, Jhin and Nami, these can be a force to be reckoned with. The Jhin can side lane very well, very good at 1v2ing in the lane, clearing the wave, things such as that. Jhin is very utility-based as well, similar to the Ashe. The stars of the show are going to be these junglers and these top laners. The mid laners, again, picked more for the support. The Nocturne Orianna combo, if you didn't know, Orianna can attach her little ball to an ally, and Nocturne can ultimate almost globally and pretty much teleport to any player on the enemy team. While that Orianna ball is attached to him and he teleports to anybody or flies in to anybody on the opposing team, Orianna can then activate the Shockwave as her ultimate and suck in anybody that is on the back line. This game comes down to who can engage first. They need to utilize the support from their mid laners, the engage from their top laners, and the follow-up damage from their junglers to make this work. Both teams need to make this happen. It's all a matter of who starts the fight and how well they can translate that into a proper resolution, whether it's for an objective or whether it's just a kill frenzied kind of team fight in the middle of river for no reason. We're going to have to see how it goes, though. This is going to be a little bit slower of an early game. Meanwhile, as I say, that stun walks through the bubble, lands onto Eerie, but not before he brings down Asa to about half HP. Arrow Hunter also looking a little worse for wear in the mid lane, but is able to use those Galio Qs to get a little bit more of the CS, not losing against this ranged matchup quite yet. However, the gold deficit is starting to become a little bit more staggering and starting to widen as we move forward. We're going to have to look towards the mid game to make this Galio useful. Hopefully post 6 is when a lot of the team fighting for River Falls can happen. Alizria and JXU, again, going at it. This is the most action we've seen in top lane pretty much starting out of the gate this year compared to all of last year. Very, very interesting to see these two box back and forth. However, River Falls has had the upper hand in top lane with 2 solo kills in both games. And let's see if the Renekton can make magic happen yet again. JXU has to expend the flash, but Alizria is hot on the tail, takes a single turret shot, but first blood is claimed, and a trade is not soon to happen afterwards. First kill goes on the side of River Falls, and first blood goes at the hands of the Renekton. Bloody are the maws of this crocodile, and they're only going to get bloodier as the game progresses. Bottom lane, a little bit more action coming through as well. We have an Enchanter and a Pseudo-Enchanter, 2 ranged supports, so a lot of damage can be pushed back and forth. It depends how close each team wants to get. The wave is instead going to crash for River Falls. It doesn't seem like they're going to prolong the inevitable anymore. Waves are then going to equal out right now into the middle of bottom lane. Neither jungler is going to hover, and I think both teams know this, so it's going to be a flat 2v2. Eerie now sitting while his support wards. Alizria did end up popping it back, able to get 2 swords and a refillable, but Goat is here to try and refrag his boy at JXU. Alizria now on the run, goes into a warded bush. 2 melees does give a lot of healing for the Renekton Q, but it is not going to be enough. A revenge kill is gifted to the Ambessa on the hands of the Nocturne. Can Talon make anything happen while this play is happening into the top side? Or is he just going to keep farming? I think the Talon is just going to keep farming. Peach doing the best she can, just trying to hit a level gap onto this Goat. Meanwhile, Arrow Hunter in the mid lane, neither mid laner have their ultimate, but Carlos is kiting this very, very well, dealing a lot of damage, trading even amounts with Arrow Hunter, even when at melee range. We're going to see how this works around the Drake now, as both junglers are either in the fountain or on the completely other side of the map. Nocturne is slowly making his way down towards the southern part of the rift. Does Wadsworth and Eerie understand that Nocturne could be around very, very soon? They do have that combo bush warded. Wadsworth gets rooted and brought down to very, very low HP. Falsey with a fantastic trade into this bottom lane as the wave slowly crashes into the tier 1 turret. Nocturne setting up for the Drake, but Arrow Hunter is there to start warding. I wonder if River Falls is going to contest this if they see any of blue going for this Mountain Drake. Talon now farming up wolves. A little farther away to make any sort of difference, but the Drake has not been started yet. Instead, Nocturne opts to back off and go towards Raptors, but Raptors has been taken. Now opting to go towards the entirety of blue side and giving away the Drake to this Talon. Nocturne is not being seen by River Falls, but he is also not present in the bottom side of the river. Talon, instead of going for a mid play, is more hovering towards the Raptors, seeing if Carlos slips up, makes any mistakes. But again, the Drake is still up and running, dancing around. wondering where this Nocturne is, where Nocturne is just in the top side of his own jungle, farming away. Mbessa, JXU clearing out these wards. They might make a play on the top here with Nocturne. Once he hits 6, he's got to be close by now. Maybe one more camp, another Scuttle spawns once that Raptor comes up. Level 6 has been hit by the top laners, however. Alazria not popping the Dominus, not going all in just yet because JXU does have that public execution handy. Now, going around the backside, Goat realizes that River Falls does not have a ward in this Hex Bush. We're going to see if there's going to be a play made. No, actually rotating down towards the mid lane as Galio is pushed up. Arrow Hunter has no idea that this Nocturne could be on the way, but instead, Arrow Hunter makes the very smart decision. Instead of going back to the tower, goes back into the bottom river. And now Nocturne is without a home. Can steal the Raptors, can potentially steal the red, but the Drake is gone at this point. The entire time we were looking at the top side, Alazria surviving any potential dive that they were even thinking of making. Peach, Wadsworth, Eerie, and Arrow Hunter are moving towards the Drake. Mountain Drake goes towards the side of River Falls, and they are one step closer to getting objective bounties. Or rather, sorry, objective feats. Now we're back to the farming game right now. Nocturne has been spotted into the enemy jungle. Peach stealing away the red buff. Yes, Goat pops the spell shield and the nearsightedness because the ultimate has been expended. Now none of River Falls can see where they're going, but it doesn't matter because Peach is on the booty of Goat, and this Ghost has been sucked into a Ghostbuster vacuum by this Talon. No reaping for him, no haunting for him. He is Casper, the friendly ghost, at this red buff as he doesn't claim the objective he was looking for in his enemy side camps, and he doesn't even claim a kill or damage. A kill goes towards River Falls yet again, but now in the bottom lane, Wadsworth using the clone as a body shield. The Jhin ult is expended. Can Eerie dodge the last shot? Yes! That final critical shot from the Jhin does not land. The Ashe slow does go onto the forehead of Falsey. The fourth shot is lined up, and not before Wadsworth is there for the backup. The flash comes through from Wadsworth. He gets crippled and rooted. Falsey with a great play onto Wadsworth, but expending that flash and ultimate from the Jhin. The last thing that's up is the cleanse and fleet footwork. River Falls can potentially make a play now onto this Jhin with no flash. However, I think the University of Texas is just going to take this victory and full recall on their bottom lane. Now Rift Herald is up. Or rather, sorry, the Grubs. JXU trying to steal away one of these Grubs, but one was already claimed for Texas. I don't think they need to be looking for any more. The mid laner and top laner for River Falls checking out what this business is, seeing how many Grubs have been expended, and they're informing their jungler, who is in the bottom side jungle right now, that there are still 2 Grubs available. However, Nocturne may be looking to secure these last 2. This is exactly what the University of Texas did last game. They prioritized all of the Grubs over the Drake, and it did end up giving them a lot of tower gold. However, River Falls maybe peeking around, doesn't want to necessarily give them all the Grubs. However, Arrow Hunter by himself probably can't do much against 4 members of the University of Texas, opting to take Atla, Carlos Crunch, Goat, and hovering around JXU from the top lane in order to secure these Grubs. Meanwhile, there's a 1v1 in the bottom lane with the Ashe and the Jhin, and the mid lane is just going to be farmed up by Arrow Hunter. So a good play from the University of Texas on this overload timer. However, they did lose a little bit of the farm in the mid lane. JXU now bullying out Alazria. This is going to be a new feeling for this Renekton, as he is so used to winning every single lane at this point forward, now on the back foot. Let's see if this player is as flexible as he is talented when in a leading position as he is from a backwards position. Seems to be doing just fine, only 2 CS behind, about to get actually a little bit CS ahead, 75 to 73 as the wave crashes into the turret. Only 1 plate is gone, not a bad deficit from the Renekton and Bessa matchup. Now, River Falls is looking for their own overload play in the bottom. Taunt and Root lands onto Atsa. The support has been taken down as Eerie pops the ultimate and the Ashe Arrow lands true. Flies onto the Nami. The support is gone. Can they keep this fight going though, as all the ultimates for River Falls have been extended? Goat popping the ultimate as well. Public execution lands on Eerie. Eerie flashes away. Arrow Hunter now trying to refrag his boy. Wings of Redemption come through. Peach hovering over the wall, trying to make Talon work. However, the Jhin shots and Qs land true onto Peach. Peach then taking a turret shot, falling, but not before the Renekton TP comes in and backs up the rest of the team. Carlos Crunch now in trouble, rotating from the mid turret, not coming down into the tier 1, is able to claim Eerie. A little bit of an overextension from River Falls yet again, and Carlos Crunch lives to see another day. Will Arrow Hunter follow soon? Yes, he will. A double kill for the Orion in the bottom lane, and it is an absolute fiesta right now in game number 3. Kills flying back and forth, domino after domino. River Falls leading the charge, getting that first initial pick on Atsa. It was very, very well done, but then they simply overgrouped, and it gave all of the ultimates from the side of the University of Texas very, very good, I guess, single target decisions. Because everybody is so close together, all they had to do was pick one, and everybody was within range to attack that one individual being Eerie. Eerie then forced to flash, Arrow Hunter trying to help Eerie as much as possible by running down Falsey. However, Carlos Crunch then rotating down from mid into that tri-bush and ends up executing everybody, cleaning up that team fight for the University of Texas. Even game, however, the fight not necessarily favoring one team or the other. Texas is going to be happy with it. River Falls is not going to be upset about it. The game state is still going to be relatively even, and both teams are still going to scale relatively similarly. We're back to the farming stage right now. Second Drake is going to be up in 3 seconds. We're going to see if River Falls wants to start stacking Drakes yet again. That is a very good win condition, especially for a team comp like this. We don't know what the soul is going to be, but any Drakes are going to be good Drakes. Arrow Hunter now going for a play, taunting in Carlos Crunch, bringing back to half HP. Oh no, but the Shockwave Orianna ult is going to land true, pulling Arrow Hunter back into the waiting arms of Goat as he pops that shadow, and unfortunately the mid laner for River Falls has fallen. Can they secure the Drake before the rest of the team gets there in time? Blue team steals away the Cloud Drake, and it is a travesty for River Falls, but hold on, they're starting to make magic happen. Eerie bringing down the enemy Nami, but not before trading his own life for the Nocturne. Peach trying to get away as much as possible, jumping over the wall, but Goat pops the spell shield. Popping over the wall is not enough and jumps over the Gromp, and Goat slays yet another one, landing a double kill for this Nocturne. 2, 2, and 5 with a 100 gold bounty. River Falls needs to make some better plays right now around these objectives without getting caught in the side lanes or the mid lane. However, if there's anybody that can do it, it's these guys. I have nothing but faith. I think these are educational moments, and I think this is a deficit that they can absolutely come back from. It's only about 2K. It's on some of the characters that won't scale as well as some of the characters that are going to be on the side of River Falls. I think that the game can still be considered relatively even. Alazria still in a dominant lead, surprisingly, against the Ambessa right now. The way that this lane has been going, getting absolutely bullied, but still ahead in CS and experience, both building the Eclipse, and yet one is somehow stronger than the other, and one is somehow more ahead than the other. Very, very interesting dynamic in the top lane. You gotta love fights like this. Very fisticuffs, pure pugilistic boxing. There's always gonna be action. Meanwhile, Arrow Hunter is actually going to be suffering in the mid lane. Galio against Orianna is very, very difficult matchup. Level 9 versus level 11, especially with Carlos Crunch getting all of those kills. Now the ultimate is going to be expended from Peach, trying to go for JXU. However, Goat is there. The cavalry has arrived, and the Nocturne claims the life of Talon. Alazria trying to at least trade for one, but JXU is getting all of those heals and the shields from Eclipse. Goat dropping down to dangerous HP, but picks up the Renekton regardless. And this Nocturne is taking a trip to the State Fair, getting all of those Gator Nuggies. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Atsa almost gets caught by the bottom lane of River Falls, but the Jhin ult has been expended and defends his support. Top lane, JXU now trying to claim turret for himself, and it is all going wrong for River Falls. Can they come back from this kind of deficit? Maybe required for a lane swap. We may call in some sort of Hail Mary play around some sort of objective, maybe around the Rift Herald. We set up a trap. Blue wards are everywhere. We got to play the vision game right now for River Falls. They got to start getting some wards down. They got to start getting some trinkets down. We got to see where the enemies are. And it's very, very difficult with a Nocturne where you can teleport from anywhere on the map. Playing safe is the name of the game and allowing our bot lane to scale. This Talon is going to be a monster as long as she can stay ahead. That is exactly what River Falls is trying to do. Unfortunately, the Nocturne does have a 350 gold bounty, 4, 2, and 5, but miracles have happened before. All of these bounties just mean that this is potential gold in the pocket of River Falls. One good fight is all they need to snatch this game back from the maw of Texas. Looks like there's going to be some calls going in for the mid lane. Carlos Crunch gets taunted. Peach flashes forward, expends the ultimate, and gets a shutdown on Orianna. This is exactly what I was talking about. That's a 400 gold shutdown going into the pocket of the Talon. Talon is now going to be very far ahead. Nocturne goes unstoppable, pops the spell shield. There's going to be there's an attempted counter ult from Wadsworth going in the Pop Blossom, but it's not going to be enough as Eerie falls. Falsey and Goat popping all of their abilities to take down this enemy bot laner. Peach trying to make something work with a Jhin W lands true. Roots up Peach, jumps over the wall. Atsa does die and then gets traded out immediately by Falsey's third shot. Wadsworth and Arrow Hunter are the last remaining. Falsey then landing that fourth shot on a Wadsworth. Can he reload in time to make another kill? Yes, it is. It's going to be a triple kill for the Jhin. And it's all going south for River Falls in this bot lane. Good news is they will be up in time for the objective. And some of the kills did go into the pocket of Talon, which, like I was saying, needed those shutdowns. Next on the docket, got to focus on that Jhin, got to focus down that Nocturne if we want any more of these, any more of these shutdowns. As I'm saying that, JXU has to flash away from the Renekton. Alizria is showing exactly where his spikes are. I got tabbies, I got Eclipse, I can now box you 1v1. Not afraid to fight in this Dominus. JXU getting an Eclipse shield, but then taking a turret shot that negates the shield immediately. Alizria just trying to taunt JXU to dive him under the tower. Eclipse shield pops for the Renekton, but Peach is now there. Unstoppable goes wide. Actually lands onto Peach, but it's not really going to matter. Public execution can only get you so far, especially when it's a full health Talon waiting on the other side of it. Now the ultimate from the other jungler is expended. Goat goes on and starts fleeing, using that W to ensure that there's no counterplay from the Renekton. Peach trying to make something happen, but now the shockwave catches Peach off guard. Galio ult comes through, gets a knock up, but it's too little, too late as the Talon falls from the Nocturne as well. A double kill for the enemy jungler. Arrow Hunter now just trying to get away with his life. The turret is still up though at 1 HP, but regardless of being at 1 HP, that still hurts. You don't want to be diving a Galio right now. Goat Atsa now, after making this top play, is going to move towards Rift Herald. Very, very smart. Let's see if River Falls can either contest it or make an opposite play onto the bottom side and go for the Drake. I don't know if there's going to be enough time. The Goat uses his ult yet again, goes nearsighted and flees. Arrow Hunter dropped down into the grave yet again. 0-4, rough game for him today. And Goat lands another kill, 700 shutdown gold bounty for this Nocturne. Let's see if anybody can stop him. Rift Herald is still ongoing. It has not been finished by Texas yet. Instead, they opted to make that top play to take down the mid laner, which honestly is smart. Now they can just start it back up again and get a free kill. However, in the bottom lane, JXU might be caught right now. There's 3 members of River Falls hovering around. Peach is opting to start the Drake instead, trying to stack Drakes and going for the late game plays. Trading Rift Herald is totally fine as long as you can get a Drake out of it. And I think this is a very smart play from River Falls. The only issue is they need to be careful. Enemy ultimates are up. The Nami wave is crashed down. Wadsworth gets stunned up. Eerie gets absolutely one shot by the Jhin ult. Pop Blossom lands true, but it's only on 2 members. Goat ults in. Everybody's trying to get onto Carlos Crunch, and they do end up slaying him, but at what cost? Talon falls then to the Orion afterwards. Dominus is popped. JXU trying to take down the Giant Gator, but he is simply too strong for him. He needs help from Goat and Atsa, and that's exactly what he got. A quadra kill for the Jhin in the pocket and in the bag. However, the Drake did go to the side of River Falls, so a very small victory for Red Team. However, it's not going to protect their tier 2, at least for now. That's going to be the job of Arrow Hunter. That's going to fall on the shoulders of this Galio, is to stabilize the mid lane as long as possible until the Galio can start getting a little bit more tanky with these ults and providing a little bit more utility and support for this Talon and for the Nico, the 2 engagers of the team. Proto Belt has been completed for Nico, so we are going to see a little bit more of these aggressive Pop Blossoms. I'm very excited for that. However, Rapid Fire Cannon was just completed from Jhin. This Jhin is going to hit like a semi-truck. The focus needs to be turning on to these junglers and the carries. It's very difficult now that the cleanse is up for Falsey. However, the Flash is still on cooldown, and he is vulnerable. And River Falls smells blood in the water. They're just going to start the Autocon. I think it might be too late for Texas to actually contest this. It's being torn down by all 5 members. Teleport comes through from JXU, and Objective Bounty was claimed by the Talon. All the XP, now they need to go, get out. As the XP and gold start swinging back into the favor of River Falls. Public Execution lands onto one of the members of River Falls. However, the Galio ult does get canceled by the Orianna Shockwave. The arrow lands on a Carlos Crunch. He is ulted. The Orianna wasn't able to do anything in this fight. However, Goat was able to jump onto the backline using the Nocturnal. Now it's all up to Alizria trying to make something happen for his team, but it is the two strongest members of Texas. He has to juke out all of these Jins W's, but it's not going to happen as Falsey cuts down the Gator, and that is a clean ace from the side of Texas. They did lose 3 members in the process, but their 2 strongest ones happen to live. And unfortunately, those are the 2 that needed to die for River Falls to make this a victory. They did secure the objective. Otacon is very important in swinging the favor back into this game. They do have a level deficit, but now they're inching it towards their own benefit as they come closer and closer to matching the enemy team. It's all a matter of farming now. Can they catch up just via farm, just stacking Drakes, a little bit better team play, maybe grouping a little bit better, countering the Nocturne Orianna ult with something else, trying not to overgroup at the exact same time. Lots of variables going through these players' heads right now, and just as I say that, Goat pops the spell shield and the ultimate to one-shot Eerie. Eerie falls at the hands of the Nocturne. Very fed jungler right now, 11, 2, and 10. He can absolutely one-shot anybody on the team. We need to be watching out for that. Peach now trying to just make something happen to this level 15 Goat. Farming up, trying to match it. Play is happening in the top. JXU is forced to flash over the wall, but Alizria and Peach are hot on the tail. Nami wave does crash down and knocks up Alizria, but Peach is still hot on the tail. The unstoppable will not be enough as the public execution goes wide, lands on a Peach and then gets executed. Next up on the chopping block is Nami. Double kill for the Talon. This is exactly what we were talking about. Goat and Falsey are the 2 people that need to die on this team. Can River Falls make it happen? It's going to be a 4v2 right now against the 2 strongest members of Texas. First one falls as Talon dies to Falsey. Falsey gets shut down by the Talon. Talon gets that shutdown and all the gold. Now it's Goat next, trying to make something happen for the team. Takes down the Nico, but Alizria is there for the refrag, and a secondary shutdown goes into the pocket of the Renekton. That's exactly what River Falls needed, taking out the 2 strongest, and an unfortunate misplay from the side of the University of Texas. Collapsing onto these individuals into the top side of the river. Great play and great call from the University of Wisconsin. This is exactly what we want to see. Nocturne now has a Black Cleaver. He's a little bit more tanky, and he still has a bounty because he was just simply so strong, but it's not as high as it used to be. Same with the Jhin. However, that gold still went into our players' pockets. We have to see how this works out in the long run. Carlos Crunch now just farming in the bottom lane, stealing away the Krugs. The Nocturne definitely doesn't need it, so I totally understand why the farm would be going towards the Orianna now in the jungle. 31-18, this game has been an absolute bloodbath. And by bloodbath, I mean these players are actually swimming in the blood. We got to get them some water wings in the room right now because, good golly, I can't even keep my head above the water with how many players are going on right now. Peach trying to make a play into the bottom lane, uses the ultimate, but Carlos Crunch uses his ultimate in turn to try and pull away the Talon, but it's not going to matter as the Cavalry is here for River Falls. A 5-man gank onto the bottom lane. Good side lane pressure from River Falls, punishing an overextended Orianna. And now they're going to start up Drake. This is going to be soul point potentially for River Falls. Falsey and Atsa trying to make something happen. Goat is going to pop the ultimate. However, the Galio ult has been expended and gives shields to the entirety of red side. Alizria and Arrow Hunter now blocking all the Jhin shots. Peach brought down low, but it's not going to be enough to land a kill. Alizria taking the final 4th shot, and he is so damn tanky with this Shojin build. You can't damage the Gator that quickly. The Indominus didn't even need to be popped, and the 4th shot, he brushed it off like it was nothing. Might as well be shooting BB gun at him, a packing peanut, maybe even a Nerf dirt. I don't even care. Goodness golly, this game is going all over the place. Uh-oh, JXU might catch Alizria right here, though. Peach is on the way, but this Mbessa is very tanky. The Ash Arrow does not land with all of the dash that this Mbessa has. He can sidestep it really quickly, but oh no! Goat went in a little bit too early for his team. JXU trying to make up the difference, but no! He put in 100%, and his teammate put in 0% walking down the lane. What are you doing in your enemy jungle? Overconfidence showing from the side of University of Texas, and this may be a barren play for the University of Wisconsin. They found a way to make it back into this game, and his name is Goat, walking into the entirety of the enemy jungle. Now, a Pop Blossom lands onto Atsa, and the Nami is down. Carlos Crunch and Fulsey have to make some miracles happen, otherwise the Baron will go towards their enemy. Shockwave is expended on a Wadsworth, and the W lands true for Jin. Great snipes from University of Wisconsin taking down the enemy support, but is it going to matter? Arrow Hunter now trying to make something happen, taunts out the Orianna, but kills himself in the process. Eerie now overcommitting as well. The flash has been expended by Carlos Crunch. Everybody jumping off of the Baron. Flashes forward, but Carlos Crunch does way too much damage. Peach now trying to hunt down this Orianna, but JXU has respawned and gets a refrag. Double kill for the Talon, but at what cost? Goat is now up and alive, and maybe University of Texas wants to start the Baron. It is just a back and forth between these teams. LDR has been completed for the Jin. The tanks are now in trouble. This Renekton, as I said, nerf bullets no more. This is going to be full-blown buckshot going towards this Renekton. Alizria needs to be very, very careful around this Jin now that he has some sort of tank shredding. However, they're not doing the Baron fast enough. There might be enough time for Wadsworth to get a really good ult right now, and Alizera to take down the Nocturne. Let's see what happens right now. Ash Arrow stuns out. Galio comes through and knocks it up. Blue team does slay the Baron, but now they need to get out. 2 kills trade in for the red side. Renekton claims 2 of them, and everybody is recalling and getting out. The Baron did end up getting claimed by the University of Texas, but 2 kills were then traded back, including a shutdown for this Renekton. This Renekton is going to be a monster and needs to carry the rest of this team through this late game. Let's see if Eerie can start catching up in gold as well, because this Ashe can also start hitting hard. It just takes a little bit later than the Jin. Jin is now reloading. This tier 1 might fall. Arrow Hunter taking a few of the shots, but then gets rooted by the Jin W. Falsey, 4th shot. Flash has to get expended, but now the ultimate has popped through. Ooh, threads the needle and takes out Arrow Hunter. He might get a second for his trouble. Peach going over the wall, going to try and gank Falsey. Falsey does have cleanse and flash up, but doesn't have time to pop either. Eerie now walking down Atsa at the same time as Talon getting a double kill. Carlos Crunch is on the way, trying to defend this tier 1, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Eerie and Peach are formidable foes in this fight. And the turret has been destroyed. That is a benefit for River Falls. That is a 2-for-1 trade, and you are going to take that every day, especially when it's a shutdown on a 17-4 Jin. River Falls slowly clawing their way back like a sunken witch into the depths, or the Bane at the bottom of a cathedral. They are scrounging up every single victory they can to get out of hell and start ascending back towards the plane of existence. Alizria pushing into the bottom wave. The macro is on high alert now. Everyone has to be locked in for every single team fight. Target prioritization has to be perfect. It is key in all of these fights moving forward. Nocturne All has not been used yet. Orianna All has not been used yet. They can use the Dawning Shadow with the Shockwave combination, especially if JXU is able to land that public execution onto one of the back line. We're going to have to see where the next team fight goes, because it may very well decide the rest of the game. Good Drake setup from River Falls. They understand that they're on Soul Point. However, Texas does smell this as well. They're able to hit tab just like the rest of us. They do see that 3 Drakes have been claimed by River Falls, and they do not want them to get an Infernal Soul. Infernal Soul is not what you want to see right now. All these Infernal Ashes around the map. Oh, but Ats actually overcommits right now. Arrow Hunter trying to go forward. Very, very bad Pop Blossom as the Proto Belt was not able to be extended. However, an even worse Shockwave to follow it up, as time and time again, the blue team is just falling by the wayside. Eerie might die, but Carlos Crunch and Falsey are trying to make something happen. Falsey does end up taking out Arrow Hunter with the ultimate. Now it's up to the Nico and the Ashe to get away. Wadsworth and Eerie brought down at 1 HP. Carlos Crunch is hot on their tails. Alizria in the top lane, top side river rather, doing his own thing, taking out that Void Grub. And that is an absolute bloodbath. I thought they were going to just set up for Drake, get the vision, control the space, and then go for the Drake. But instead, Peach just sent it onto Atsa because Atsa was way too far forward. The bubble did end up landing, but not before the Talon ult was able to secure the kill. So Peach ended up trading her life for Atsa, but at the cost of, or rather, you know, at the benefits of killing the entirety of the enemy team, except for Carlos Crunch, and Falsey did get away with at least 1 HP. However, 3 members of River Falls did stay alive, so it is a benefit for River Falls. Like I said, bringing this game back from the brink. Carlos Crunch now informing his team that the Drake is being taken. Soul is coming down. It is going to be a 5v5. Red team is slaying the Infernal Drake before any combo can happen. The Pop Blossom does not land on a Carlos Crunch, and then Nico dies immediately. Arrow Hunter now trying to land a taunt on a JXU. Taking down the Mbessa is going to be the next target. Falsey with that 4-shot available. Can one-shot Peach potentially? Can Peach get a good enough ability? Oh my goodness, can land enough abilities to one-shot Falsey before they one-shot him or her. Alice Rhea now 1v1ing Carlos Crunch into the bottom of the side of the river. Carlos Crunch lands the kill for themselves. A misplay by Alice Rhea, but now Carlos Crunch has all of the attention of River Falls turned to them, and Peach lands a double kill. Every single individual on the side of Texas is dead and buried, and River Falls is looking to at least take an inhibitor turret. Very, very well played. It seemed very, off. There was a little bit of a miscellaneous mismanagement from River Falls. They didn't quite know who they wanted to go for in that fight, but the second Carlos Crunch turned onto the Renekton, everybody had the exact same idea and went back into the bottom river to help their boy out. Very, very well done from River Falls to make that play work again after some of the very small mistakes that did happen. GOAT, unfortunately, also getting caught right there. All of these mistakes from University of Texas have been solved from River Falls. They have been expanded upon. They have been annihilated because of these mistakes they've making. Very exploitive behavior from River Falls that we're seeing right now. Being able to sense the weakness in the enemy and going towards these priority targets. Very well done. And now GOAT might have stepped forward, has to use the spell shield. Nami alt wave has been used, and that is not going to be available for the next objective. Infernal Soul was claimed. Nocturnal has been popped. Everybody on River Falls is nearsighted, but he's not going to go for anybody. Oh, he does! Alice Rhea now gets caught into the top side of the river. Galliol has been expended, as well as the stun from the Ash Lord lands onto the Mbessa. JXU goes unstoppable, lands onto the back line and takes down Eerie. Eerie now fighting for his life, but the rest of the boys are there to back him up. JXU falls. Now Carlos Crunch trying to make something work for his team. Peach dies as well, but not before GOAT is brought back to 1 HP. A very unfortunate Pop Blossom stopwatch is hit by Wadsworth at the cost of his ADC. And now Falsey cleaning up the broken pieces that Texas has left behind by killing every single member of River Falls. Can Arrow Hunter make it out in time, or will Falsey hunt him down and slay the beast that is Arrow Hunter? Seems like he's getting away, jumping into this mid lane. Maybe going to clear the wave first and accept the death. No, he's going to go into the bottom river, use those Galio Ws as much as possible. However, a fleet-footed Jhin is something you don't want to be running away from. He's so quick on these little boots of his. And now we're just going to be at a stalemate. Everybody is looking at a gray screen right now except for 3 players on the Rift. What will happen? We all await on bated breath. Falsey now fed as a stallion. Arrow Hunter trying to make something happen for his team, clearing out the bottom side to make sure that no pushes come from there. There's 2 minutes approximately on this Elder Dragon. Are they going to go for a flip? Are they going to go for a Baron trade? We're going to have to see which team's macro proves faulty moving forward into this match. Everybody has now hit late game. Atsa, an unfortunate Nami game right now, just simply getting caught on the mid lane. Enchanters, maybe not the best pick for this guy. I think the Nami wave was expended a little too early in the last fight, and that's why River Falls had the upper hand. The only unfortunate thing for River Falls is that Carlos Crunch got a fantastic shockwave moving forward. Now the Unstoppable comes through, a flash over the wall from GOAT, trying to one-shot the enemy carry. However, Eerie is there with backup, and Peach says, no, thank you. I would like to keep my ADC today. Flash forward from Arrow Hunter, taunts Carlos Crunch. Unstoppable public execution comes through from JXU and takes down Eerie. Or no, rather, Arrow Hunter. Eerie is still alive, hunting down all of the remaining players from Texas. JSU now brought down to 1 HP. The Pop Blossom goes big, lands onto 2 members of Texas, and they are running for the hills. It smells like cooking right now as they are getting burned up from this Infernal Soul. River Falls barbecuing these Texans and send them back home. They may be looking to end right now. They do have a midwave coming down onto these 2 Nexus turrets. 4 members still alive, and that may be done and dusted for the side of Texas. A 2-1 victory for River Falls, and they take the series at the end of the night. Big congrats to the University of Wisconsin River Falls. Very hard fought, very push and pull kind of game. One hell of a tug of war, if I do say so myself, but in the end, The better team simply wins, and I will have to hand it to the Falcons as they just prove themselves time and time again that they can bounce back from any mental boom of Game 1. 2-1 victory, they take the series. That's it. That's done. I believe they're actually going to have another game next week. If you guys are interested in watching that as well, it's going to be against, do we know our competitor yet? Not off the top of my head. Stay tuned. It's going to be a mystery. I'm very excited to see who it is as well. Maybe it's going to be one of our rivals. Might be another UW school. Who knows? We're going to have to see. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for enjoying this victory as I did as well and all the adrenaline. I hope you guys have a fantastic night. Stay frosty out there.